It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got some breaking news in the industry. Collabrance, owned by GreatAmerica, was sold. Collabrance sold. I got to say a couple of things. The first thing is never say never. And now I will say, I warned you all. I warned you all. I've been talking about GreatAmerica selling Collabrance for a couple of years. I did a video about 3 months ago really drilling in on it because I believe GreatAmerica will sell the whole company. But first, they had to unload Collabrance, the master service provider. As I said many times, I believe when David Pullman and his team put the Collabrance platform together, they did it with the best intentions in the world. They were trying to help those friends of ours that sell supply and service print equipment to get into the IT space. They built a master service provider. I had firsthand experience working with Collabrance, the master service provider. I had firsthand experience leaving Collabrance as a master service provider and going to another platform. I know what it takes. I know what it entails. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been warning the industry that GreatAmerica will sell Collabrance. When I did that video a few months ago, what happened? Well, shortly thereafter, the new leadership at GreatAmerica went on the talk show circuit, if you will. Sat there with Fridays with Frank, put an article out in some of the magazines. I'm not saying that they did that because I did the episode, but that episode got a lot of momentum. And the reason that I bring it up is I was kind of disappointed in our industry's media and analysts. Quite honestly, I don't believe these folks know what questions to ask. But our industry's media and analysts really have to up their game. Because we cannot continue to pander to the organizations in the industry, organizations that the dealers depend on a daily basis. We cannot continue to pander to these organizations. We have to hold these organizations accountable. We've got to be able to ask them questions. Look, I get it. The new leadership at GreatAmerica is probably not going to sit in an interview and discuss selling off Collabrance. Yeah, Ray's right. He did that episode 100% right. We're in the market right now. We're going to sell it. But ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't mean he shouldn't be asked the question. If more people ask the question, then the dealers can interpret the answer. When the leader says things like, well, I can't talk about that now. That's probably the answer. We need to prepare. But because our industry won't ask any of these kinds of questions, because they're so afraid to for some reason, and because I'm the only one in the industry that'll ask these kind of questions, well, they could just put it off. Well, that's just Ray. He's crazy. He's the only one asking the question, so whatever he asks is irrelevant. But yet, more and more and more, my warnings seem to pop up as reality. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share some thoughts regarding GreatAmerica selling to Collabrance, because it is an important story. It's another story in the story overall of our industry, the print industry, moving into IT. It's another story of how maybe that's not the correct move. Maybe we need to reevaluate those strategies. Because now, I don't know how many dealers are on that platform. I don't think very many. But at the end of the day, those dealers have to make some decisions. And the decisions they make, it could be tough decisions. So without any further ado, let's jump on the board. I'm going to share some thoughts. There's the press release. I found it on Channel Futures. I couldn't find it in the industry's media and analyst blogs because they weren't awake yet, I guess. Collabrance, the 20. I'm asking a question. Is this a culture match? Or was culture irrelevant to selling? When the new leadership took over at GreatAmerica, I'm really convinced that they're cleaning up costs and they're going to sell the whole company. And one of the things they had to clean up was Collabrance. I'm just convinced of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, if I was the ownership of GreatAmerica, I'd probably be thinking the same thing. I'd at least be exploring. Should we take the money and run down? Interest rates the highest they've ever been. We got an election coming. There's uncertainties around that. At the end of the day, I could sell this thing, make enough money, and live pretty happy the rest of my life. Maybe I can invest in some other things that are more relevant than leasing copy machines and printers. Because the new leadership at GreatAmerica's got to be thinking of these things. They got to be thinking, what's it going to cost us to diversify into something for the changing times? How do we deal with the core business of leasing office equipment as that core business keeps declining? The new leadership at GreatAmerica's got to be thinking about these things. And as they think about these things and the decisions they make, how will their culture change? I believe the Great America culture changed the day the new leadership took over. It changed. Folks, if you spend any time in the IT space and you know anything about the 20, you spend any time in the print space and you know anything about Collabrance and Great America, I think a lot of people are asking the same question I'm asking. Is this a culture match, or was culture irrelevant to selling? I wanted to share this slide, and these are some of the snapshots of the slides I did of the video about 3 months ago when I said Great America sale coming soon. And in that episode, I really drilled into them unloading Collabrance. And I want to ask everybody a question. If Greg Van de Walker, David Pullman, and Stan Herkelman were still at Great America, would Collabrance have been sold to the 20? I'm going to leave it at that. You know, the folks at Great America, the folks inside the space, IT space, and print space can answer that themselves. But I believe the culture at Great America changed the day the new leadership took over. I believe that there was some decisions made, good, bad, or ugly. I wasn't there. I didn't have to make those decisions. But the outcomes of those decisions, I could damn sure evaluate. And when David Pullman, one of the most respected individuals in our industry, all of a sudden was not working at Great America and he left with zero fanfare, I knew right then the culture at Great America changed. Ladies and gentlemen, good, bad, or ugly, everybody knows that David Pullman was an honorable, decent person. And, you know, anytime that me and David had a chance to communicate, we always communicated, and sometimes that communication did not agree with each other. But he was honorable. He wasn't afraid to discuss things that were painful, and I had a lot of respect, I still do, for David Pullman. But the fact that Great America allowed him to exit that building without any fanfare told me the culture changed. Stan, if he quit, he quit. Who knows what happened with Stan? But the same thing, these folks were in the industry for a long time. They helped build Great America to what it was. I mean, we're seeing folks now leave the industry. They have like 25 retirement parties. It's a point of absurdity. They didn't even have a cupcake for these folks. And I just think that's something we need to think about. And the reason I'm bringing up this culture thing is because Great America pounded that. I mean, anybody that got a job at Great America, do you remember what you had to go through to start work there? Do you remember how you couldn't even be hired there? I don't care if you were the best leasing agent in the world. You could go in there and bring them millions of dollars in revenue. If you didn't match their culture, you weren't getting hired. I mean, realistically, if I ever applied for a job at Great America, I could have never got hired. Never! They would have never hired me. Be a culture mismatch for sure. Something to think about. Should the Collabrance customers now be uncertain? Of course I'm going to show you this. Right off the Collabrance website not too long ago, ladies and gentlemen, when they were asked the question, and they were probably asked the question from one of the episodes I did, you know, as far back as 2 years ago. Is Collabrance for sale? Remaining a private held company in the IT space. Let me read something from this. The shifting sands of private equity can mean frequent changes in master service provider ownership and changes in strategic direction, giving MSPs and subscriber customers a sense of uncertainty. Well, now that Collabrance is in the hands of private equity, should the customers and the MSPs themselves have some uncertainty? Asking the question. When this article was published, I actually did an episode and I said, never say never. Never say never. You know, the previous leadership at Great America, quite honestly, I believe the previous leadership at Great America would have probably made sure that whatever they did with Collabrance was super, super comfortable for those partners, even at the expense of Great America and Collabrance. You know, I've been pretty critical of Collabrance in believing that they really never even made any money for a while. I was never challenged on that. And my guess is that the 20 picked them up at a pretty good price. But at the end of the day, whatever they picked them up for probably didn't cover the losses they've incurred over the years. And quite honestly, you know, Great America probably could have took all those customers at Collabrance, got with them, spent some time with them, orchestrated a transfer. And I'm sure the way it went was they probably got a phone call yesterday, hey, we're going to have a press release tomorrow announcing we sold Collabrance. And I'm sure some of those dealers probably said, I guess Ray was right. Well, I know they did because I heard from some of them. So ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, our industry needs to have analysts and media that can learn what questions to ask, number one, and they need to start asking the damn questions. They need to start challenging stuff like this when it's actually published. And I wish the new leadership at GreatAmerica the best. And I'm not saying if I was there, I would not have sold Collabrance. But I'm telling you, we can't look at GreatAmerica the way we looked at him with the previous leadership, because the culture at that company has changed. And as an outsider, you can see the culture of the company's changed just by what's going on at the company. I want to ask some questions. Will the 20 keep the ConnectWise infrastructure or force migration to Kaseya? So we know that the 20 uses Kaseya as their platform, and we also know that Collabrance uses ConnectWise. So what's going to happen there? Will Collabrance employees run to GreatAmerica to work in the leasing business? Will the Collabrance employees run to GreatAmerica to work in the leasing business? And I'm sure the 20, probably, thought through this, but let's just say that there is a mismatch in culture. Maybe those employees that work in at Collabrance are thinking, hey, you know what, I'm going to go down the hall, I want to work in the leasing part. We know that GreatAmerica pulled some folks out of Collabrance and put them back in the leasing department. So what are the rest of them going to do? Are they going to transfer over to the new company? They're going to be happy with that? Is everything all excited? Or are they going to want to run back to GreatAmerica and do the leasing? Just a question I'm asking. Collabrance always boasted they don't force partners into contracts. Will Collabrance MSPs run to ConnectWise? There's no contract. Let's move over to the ConnectWise platform. I'm sure the 20 thought of this. Will the 20 keep all MSP contracts at Collabrance cost? If not, are the MSPs prepared to raise end user pricing? Something you better think about. What else is in the Collabrance stack that is not in the 20 stack? Will MSPs be forced to move to the 20 stack? What time frame are they going to have? Boy, it takes a lot to move from one platform to the other. And I experienced it firsthand. It takes a lot, folks. So whatever the warning was that Collabrance is now in the hands of a new owner that's both backed by private equity, you're going to have to start making some decisions really fast. Do any of the Collabrance MSPs have concerns with help desk culture changing? Talk about culture. You think the help desk culture is going to change? Are all those same employees that were working at the help desk at Collabrance going to move over to the new company? What are the new folks going to do? What's the new leadership going to do? How are they going to drive behaviors? And I'll ask this question. How many Collabrance MSPs wish they explored the idea of GreatAmerica selling Collabrance? Ladies and gentlemen, here's the reality. I do what I do because I try to warn the industry of what I see coming. And I get it. There's a lot of old men out there that just hate my guts, and they're going to call people up and complain and all this and cry like a bunch of school kids. But at the end of the day, I do it for a reason. I do it for days like this. The fear of insecurity is replacing the need of critical conversations with appeasement-based conversations. And nothing good comes from appeasing one's insecurities. I'm looking at some of the articles that are in our industry's publications today. Articles about how A3's dying and it's A4. Where the hell were these people at when I started the A4 revolution? Warning y'all, we better start prepared. We're going to move from A3 to A4. So many things are going to change because of that. No, what happened was the consultants ran around talking about it's not about A3 or A4, Ray. They wouldn't say my name, but they would say that. In other words, don't listen to Ray, don't know what the hell he's talking about. And of course, the OEMs weren't excited about that conversation I was having back in 2017 and 18 because the OEMs, they want to sell A3. The industry has to stop thinking about what's good for the industry and start paying attention to what the end users want from the industry. And those wants are changing drastically. Now we got the industry's media talking about the Lexmark A3. Have you ever looked at the Lexmark A3? What the hell? Okay. But let's not talk about the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Let's not talk about Lexmark's owner's 9-star being banned over slave and forced labor. Let's put an article out and have a webinar talking about Konica Minolta's financials. Of course, none of the industry's analysts or media that are on the call can even ask a question regarding the financials. So Konica Minolta is allowed to pander to the entire industry. I did that episode on Great America Selling, and shortly thereafter, we see the new leadership showing up on Fridays with Frank. Of course, Fridays with Frank, what do they talk about? Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, our industry's media and analysts have got to stop pandering to you, and you've got to demand more from them. And when they call up and complain about me, guess what? It's days like this that prove they're wrong. The industry will stay unprepared as long as they accept being pandered to. Will this acquisition emulate the Valsoft purchase of NextEra? Think about that crazy fiasco. What about Forza? Do y'all remember that? My God, I bring it up enough, and now we got folks trying to do it again? Holy, it's almost comical. Can you imagine if the industry's media and analysts actually addressed this reality as it was going along? Will dealers now question the industry's leaders? More importantly, will dealers refuse to be pandered to? I get it. We can have one or two publications that copy and paste crap so the industry can read it without having to go to the OEM's website or whoever they're talking about's website, because all they do is copy and paste press release. But at the end of the day, we need some analysts to actually do their damn jobs. I think about Keypoint Intelligence. They brag they're the largest analytical firm in the industry. What do? They do nothing. They do nothing. They're going to have no opinion one way or the other. It's through opinions that cause action. It's through people driving a different conversation that brings on more conversations that are different. And it's through these different conversations that things change. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to say I told you so. I guess I just said it. But I'll continue to do everything I do because it's days like this that get me excited to keep doing what I do. And everybody watching me knows this: status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.